be in the district represented by the Speaker of the Massachusetts House of Representatives.
Right.
So, you know, you've got a little bit of a problem right there. What bothers me is just that this whole idea, and it's reflective, I think, of the political climate nationally and even in some areas, the political climate locally. Nobody wants to listen to anybody anymore. Nobody wants to debate. Shows like this are great because you can come on, Dan, you can have one opinion, and you might have one, and I might have a third. And we can go at each other, we can throw facts and figures and throw opinions, and at the end we stand up, we laugh, we shake hands, we go home, and people make their decision.
And the ratings have been really good.
There you go. and why can't we do that anymore? The strategy now seems to be cut everybody off at the knees. Don't let anybody get a footing. Don't even let it get out of the box. Foxborough is presented with an option where they can make, I've heard estimates of $10 to $15 million a year. I believe, I'm not sure, but I believe their total budget is something in the area of $57 million a year. So you're talking about maybe 10 to 15% of their budget being added to their revenues. That's a lot of teachers, that's a lot of firemen, that's a lot of policemen, that's a lot of unfunded pension liability. That's a lot of things.
A lot of property tax relief. It could be anything.
Yeah. You know, when somebody throws that at you, you owe it to yourself, and I think the selectmen owe it to the citizens to at least listen. But I'll tell you, I'm glad I'm not a selectman in Foxborough right now.
No.
Because that's a lot of pressure. It's gotten really nasty. And what I wrote and what I stand by is people said, this is awful. This casino issue is ripping us apart. It's ripping the community apart. It's dividing the community. And it's pitting friend against friend, neighbor against neighbor. That's a bunch of crap. Issues don't do that. People do that.
Of course,
okay?
I agree.
And I don't care if it's Foxborough or any place else. You are responsible for your actions. You have to have the ability to debate even the controversial issues and do it in a respectful, disciplined manner. And when, you know, if you're going to blame the issue for people's bad behavior, then forget about it. It's a free-for-all. You know, I know I haven't had a chance to talk to the moderator in Foxborough, but I know at their town meeting they had people yelling and screaming, which almost never happens. They've had people at meetings yelling and screaming, behaving badly, threatening emails, all that stuff. Don't blame that on the issue. And I don't care which side. I don't care if it's for or against. Don't blame it on the issue. That's the actions of people, and you got to be responsible for yourself. And you know, and people, you know, you guys know, issues can get heated like an override. Like for a school or for a town hall or for whatever.
Or like the Comcast Center right now in Mansfield.
Absolutely.
It's causing a heated debate.
It gets heated. But both sides have a responsibility to conduct themselves, you know, in a reasonable manner.
Right.
So don't blame the issue. I mean, am I for it or against it? I don't know. I don't know what. There's a lot written into this law that people haven't looked at. When you have to enter into a host agreement just to be able to talk about it. And that doesn't start until a proposal has been made, and no proposal has been made.
Right.
And the law that's been passed in Massachusetts calls for payments from the applicant to the town for the cost of doing the work to study the proposal. As a matter of fact, I think I read if Foxborough were to sign an agreement, if a proposal were to be made and Foxborough were to sign an agreement to consider it and to go forward, I think the applicant has to immediately give the town something like $400,000 to start to offset the cost, which will be considerable, of going through all the planning and everything else. So you have to ask yourself, and Dan, I know you and Eddie, I'm sure you know these things too. What are they going to offer in mitigation costs?
Right.
You know, is there going to be money in the proposal to pay for the extra police protection that's going to be needed? Is there going to be money to pay for the extra fire? Is there going to be money for the inspections department? Is there going to be money for the schools? Is there going to be money to go to Gambling Anonymous programs? We don't know this yet.
No, and that's all things that can be negotiated, but they can't even get to that point.
No.
They've shut it off. They've, like you said, they cut it off at the knees. The selectmen caved into a lot of pressure there. They won't even have the debate at this point. And I think that's sad for Foxborough. I think it's sad, you know, for government in general. You know, you got to be able to at least discuss it and see what's going on. And nobody in Foxborough, not one person, as of this moment, can make an informed decision.
Yep.
It's impossible because nobody's been informed.
Yeah.
Okay, we can pull facts like this
All day.
and throw numbers out.
All day.
You can throw numbers. The $10 million is a number, but I mean, again, it's a number that was just thrown in the pot, okay? What makes $10 million?
Yep.
Where does that $10 million come from? How do you come up with $10 million, okay, where does that come from? How do we get that? How often does the town get that? What can we do with it? What else can the town get for it? And,
Is it guaranteed? What happens if the economy tanks further and the casino doesn't do well? What happens if the casino goes out of business? I mean, all these are legitimate questions that before you can have answers, you have to be able to ask them.
Right.
I mean, the selectmen had to take a vote, and they voted, what they actually said, if you think about it, they voted and said, no, we don't want to listen to you.
That's why I wanted to have this discussion, because I think that was the wrong thing to do. I don't think that was fair to the people in Foxborough. The people who are against the casino think it's very fair. And again, it does. It affects us all as we're neighbors, and any large thing like that is going to have spillover effects to different towns.
Of course.
And it's going and hopefully it draws it's going to draw people, but is it going to draw them to your restaurants, or is it going to draw them to other things? Your restaurants, your hotels, things like that, and that's what you want. You want spillover. You want busloads of people like they do in Connecticut. They don't just all go to the casino. They stop. They go to Custy's or whatever it is down there and have all the lobsters they can eat. I'll tell you about that later. I'll go into that one later, but it's good.
Yeah, it's the things that bother me is you hear the argument, well, if you build a casino, it's going to bring crime and it's going to bring those people. We never really define who those people are. And the jobs are going to be low paying, and we're not going to attract an element that we don't want in town. Well, Eddie might be a little young to remember, Dan, but I know you remember and I remember. We heard that when they were going to build the highway to come through town, both 95 and 495. We heard, if you put the highway, it's going to bring those people. We're going to have a new element. There's going to be high crime. They said it when they built the Emerald Square Mall. Oh, that's going to attract the wrong guy. They said it when they started to build Mansfield Crossing.
Yes.
Every time there's a major development of any type, we hear that we're going to bring in the wrong people. I'm just wondering, how did all the right people get here to start with?
Right.
How are we lucky enough to build
Yeah.
communities around here with just the right people?
Yeah. And who's the wrong people? Grandma who wants to go out and have some fun for the day, otherwise is a shut-in. I mean, you look at that. And people are like ganging up against the craft organization, saying, well, we want a biotech park. Well, you know what? He's been floating that idea for nearly 5 years. There's no takers, okay? And be careful what you wish for, okay? People look at, like, they're saying, the casino will draw traffic, it'll gridlock. No. If you've ever been to a casino, people don't all go in at 8 o'clock and all leave at 5.
Yeah.
Okay, they come in all the time, and it's
And
steady.
they leave all different hours.
Right,
of
if
the
you had
night,
a
too.
big biotech firm in there that hired, 1,200 people or whatever, they're all going to come in and leave at the same time. It's going to be like a football game on every day.
Yeah.
Okay. The second thing is, do you really want to have a biotech park? Because, what's worse? A chemical thing or a potential, problem there. And the third thing is, the guy's had no takers. He's willing to build it, but I mean, there's nothing to support it around here. You got it. They're all in Boston and Cambridge, where the schools are and the laboratories are. You're going to have one out here all by itself. It doesn't make good business sense. But at least the man tried. So.
Yeah, and the thing that I think they have to be careful of, and I wrote another column, and I'm hearing from a lot of people in Foxborough, when it came out suddenly that Mr. Pecos, the town manager, and Mr. Harrington, the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, had held a meeting back in early August with Bob Kraft and the Kraft Group and representatives, and then didn't tell all of the individual board members. And when asked, well, why didn't you tell the other selectmen that this came up? They didn't tell them. They didn't not tell them that they met. They didn't tell them that the subject of a possible billion-dollar resort casino was brought up at the meeting. And now the reason they're saying, well, the reason we didn't tell them is because the Kraft people asked that it be kept confidential because of business reasons. And this is where you get into the rub, and this is what's so difficult, and people need to understand. When you're running a business, you want to keep things as close to the vest as possible. You don't want to give your competition any edge.
No.
You want everything to stay totally quiet. You want to be under the radar. You want to you have everything lined up. That makes you a good businessman. But you can't do that same thing when you're the head of a town government. You can't run in secret. There are laws. There are rules. You cannot do this. So the two butt heads. And when a business person asks you, hey, please keep this quiet, I can totally understand why a town manager and a chairman of a board of selectmen would say, sure, this could be very good for our town. We don't want to rock the boat. We don't wanna do anything. But you have to be transparent. You have to be upfront. And if the two clash, you err on the side of being transparent. You err on the side of blowing the project and not on allowing yourself to have someone say you hid something. And that's what poor Foxborough officials, they're being hit with this all at once. And I mean, Foxborough in actuality is a town smaller than my town, smaller than Norton.
Right.
And I'm thinking, oh my God, I was a selectman in Norton. I'm thinking all of a sudden, if I had to deal not only with a stadium and not only with Patriot Place and all the challenges that issues, but now someone wants to locate $1 billion casino resort in your town. I mean, it's not like the selectmen are making $100,000 a year for this job.
No.
They're probably not getting
They
paid
don't
anything.
they don't even get iPads.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So I feel bad for them. It's a tough issue, but somebody has to sort of stand up over there, and somebody has to say, listen, both sides. Somebody who's got the respect of everyone and both sides needs to stand up and say, hey, let's just talk this out.
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, the answer is no. That's all you want. But wait, Eddie's got crime statistics. That old saying about liars lie and figures figure or whatever the heck.
Yeah.
I can come up with figures that'll disprove everything you have there, and then 5 minutes later I can come up with figures that'll back up everything you have there.
Of course.
And it's the same thing. More people is going to be more crime, more traffic, more services, and I don't care why they come. Whatever they come for, it's going to be it's going to be more.
More people bring more with them, and they also bring more revenue, and along with it, it does come the problems.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you one thing. Not everybody who lives in Foxborough now has lived there all their life.
No.
Many of them came from someplace else.
Of
Yep.
course.
And now it seems a lot of them want to stop other people from doing the same thing they
Right,
did,
and-
which is no different from any other town. I'm
and
not
no-
blaming Foxborough.
In Norwood, we
Every
used to
town
call
is
them
the same.
carpetbaggers.
There you go.
That's what you. If you weren't
Or
born
in
in Norwood,
Charlestown, you were a toonie.
yeah. But if you weren't born in Norwood, you were a carpetbagger. Even if you moved there, same like if you're a Vineyard resident. If you weren't born there, you're not an islander.
Yeah. It's funny. You watch the hypocrisy that comes out of both sides. I'm not picking on any one side, but both sides. They'll say, "Oh, wait a minute. This is a Foxborough decision. All those people who are holding the job signs and they aren't from Foxborough, they shouldn't be. They don't have a vote on it. They aren't from Foxborough. Don't listen to them." But then, if you're an anti-casino person and the Norfolk Board of Selectmen or the Rentham Board of Selectmen votes to oppose the casino, you say, "Oh, look, we have to be careful of our neighbors because this affects them too." So it all depends on your point of view. It all ends up with when other people agree with us, we think they should be listened to. When they don't agree with us, well, we don't think they should be listened to.
Right. No, and even Mansfield's had discussions about it because it does affect Mansfield.
Well, I think every town should have a discussion about it.
Right. But again, they're not trying to build it here, so
Well,
it's
no,
been
I
on a
mean,
different plane. And again, I just feel that the people that want to learn more about it and make an informed decision, they're the ones that are losing out here because they're just not being. They're not
being heard.
There's no discussion. And then they don't want to be heard. They want to be told, but they want to know what's going on. They're not taking sides, and they just want to know what's to gain, what's to lose. What are you going to do here? How much is it going to affect me? How much is it going to affect me both ways? With money coming in, will I have to worry about now? We don't have to worry about buying a new ambulance. And maybe property tax relief. It could anything. I mean, towns aren't used to having money like that.
No, that's a lot of money, and
it's reoccurring money. It's
Yes,
not
exactly.
it's not a grant. It's not the stimulus. It's reoccurring money. And you write if you're going to go with ahead of you, let's say you write a contract that regardless of how they do, this is what it's going to cost.
right. If you get, and that's a great point, Dan, because if you get one-time money, which many towns do, and this is how they get
in
screwed.
trouble.
They get one-time money and they say, oh, great, the schools had some stimulus money in Mansfield. They said, great, we can hire this we can run this program, we can run this, and then the money runs out. And then everyone's like, oh no, we have to cut the program. Well, duh.
Yeah.
You knew you weren't going to have the money.
A lot of programs entail hiring an employee. Now you're stuck with that employee and you can't afford it.
Exactly. We always say we have to live within our means in cities and towns. Well, This is one of those rare occurrences where you can increase your means. Now, it may not be right, and I'm not saying it's right for Foxborough, because I don't know. I don't know what the terms are going to be. But boy, it's hard to walk away. I know that as a town official, if it was in my town, if there was land in my town and they wanted to come in, I don't know if I'd be